To the Black girl who's ever struggled with self esteem or feeling good about yourself, I see you. Today's episode is the vulnerability of believing yourself, and I'm joined with a colleague and a friend, Natasha Hastings, who is a two-time Olympian and a therapist who currently works with both athletes and high-performing Black women to help them achieve their goals by first believing in themselves. We often talk about what it looks like to believe in yourself or to think highly of yourself and reaffirm your self-worth, but we don't always talk about the vulnerability of getting there. In this episode, we talk about really important stories, processes, paths, and strategies to help cultivate a repaired relationship with how you feel about the most important person in your life, who is you. Welcome to the Black Girl Scene Podcast. I'm your host, Kaylin Wilson, a licensed clinical social worker in Atlanta, Georgia. And today I am joined by a groundbreaker and a good friend, Natasha Hastings. Natasha Hastings is a licensed professional counselor associate, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, and a mindset coach dedicated to helping athletes and women unlock their full potential. As a mom, a therapist, a former pro athlete, and an entrepreneur, Natasha is no stranger to having to cultivate the kind of inner strength that is calm but powerful to help overcome the odds and create the life she wants. Natasha helps her clients to do the same by building up the most important muscle we have, the mind, and blends her expertise in mental health, sports psych, and supporting Black women high performers to guide her clients toward achieving their goals. Welcome to the show, Natasha.
Thanks, Kaylin. Thanks for having me. I'm
Of
excited for this little chit
course.
chat. I'm scared and
Yes.
excited, but
That's literally the perfect blend, like doing it scared, but doing it excited anyway.
that's been my
That's
life.
yeah, right? No, literally, that's what we're gonna talk about today. Like, I feel like you have embodied being afraid, being anxious, and doing it anyway, and doing it really well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So, how are you doing that in your life now? How are you allowing yourself to be seen in this season of your life?
It's interesting because I feel like that's an area that I would like to do better at.
Mhm.
um, and I mean that in the way that when I was competing athletically, I was always on the scene, if you will. And
Mhm.
taking a step back, it's a fine line to walk being the therapist or coach where it's not about me,
Yeah.
it's about my client. But I chose this profession specifically
Mhm.
because I'm a Black female athlete.
Mhm.
Three demographics that is underrepresented in the athletic space, right?
Right.
And so I just wanted to be that person to fill the void, be the person that I needed when I was competing, right? And so I'm trying to be visible for my Black student athletes, Black athletes out
Mhm.
there to know that, I'm here for you. I've been there, so I get it, but I've also done the work to do the training to, really meet you where you are. It's also some of that, we're as Black women told to be humble, but getting over that and just being proud of, I worked hard for my degrees and all the things that I've accomplished. So saying it out loud and living it out loud it's a challenge, but I'm trying to rise to that challenge.
Yeah. I love how you frame that like that your visibility is also tied to the visibility and the care of someone else.
Mhm.
And in some ways it's heavy knowing that how we show up impacts someone else, but it's also like an honor. So I
Yeah.
really do hear that. And
Yeah.
like, this is such an ideal time. I know this is going to be about the everyday Black woman, but I feel like right now in the sports world, there's a lot going. I mean, there's always going a lot going on, but we are in the midst of like a 2 to 3 year stretch of some big stage
Mhm.
athletic situations that a lot of them are centered around Black women athletes. And so we see
Mhm.
that same dynamic unfolding on our TV screens that we see in our everyday lives right now. You had to do that, right? Like,
Mhm.
tell us a little bit more about your story. You've been in those shoes and you had to literally navigate being seen for
Mhm.
all of those years. What was that like for you?
It was a lot of pressure
Mhm.
and a lot of navigating the tension between being seen but not being seen. And I
Right.
think that is something that Black women, Black girls, we can relate to, the speak to when spoken to,
Mhm.
don't be too big, don't be too loud, but at the same time, look at me, right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't, I walk into a room, admittedly, I command
Mhm.
eyes with, and I call that my Leo energy, that we just
Mm.
have a thing about us, when we walk into spaces. But it
Mhm.
was challenging. I mean, I'm actually a little bit toned down from how I used to compete. I used to have
Mm.
the big lashes on, the full face of
Mhm.
makeup, bright lipstick, and people would comment like, "You would be so much faster if you didn't worry about how you look." And it was like, tell me how putting on a little bit of lipstick trumps
Yeah.
the hours of work and sacrifice that I've done, but it
Hmm.
was the typical, like, being a female athlete, being a Black
Mhm.
female athlete, of being placed in this box of what I was expected to be, but really challenging and running up against that and still, showing up as me, because what I had to realize after going through some downtimes was, if I'm gonna be successful, I have to be me. I have to show up
Yeah.
boldly, I have to show up authentically, and I have to quiet the noise. So, as a young woman doing it in front of the eyes of the world, my sport
Right.
is a global sport. It was challenging. It definitely came with its peaks and valleys, but
Yeah.
I did the best that I could.
Yeah, and I mean, it worked out.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that though, because I do think that sometimes people do forget about how hard it was when they do see the medals and the accolades. What was it like for you to be building a relationship with confidence
Mm,
when there was so much reason to have doubt?
yeah. So what comes to mind for me, honestly, I dealt a lot with imposter syndrome,
Mm,
and I remember my first, what do you call it, sports psychology session
yeah.
with, the psychologist that I would say probably had a big influence in me doing what I do now. But it was after not making the 2012 Olympic team. He met my mom in the stands, asked my mom to if he could work with me, watched me over the years, thought I wasn't living up to my potential.
Mm,
So it was, I'm telling my age now, but we had therapy on the phone.
yeah.
We didn't have the Zoom or the simple
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
So we were on the phone, and on our first session he said, "So Natasha, tell me what you think when you're standing on the line." For those that don't not know the starting line.
Yes. Yeah.
I ran the 400. But I said to him, like, I don't want to be here. This is going to be so painful. If I don't run a certain time, my shoe sponsor is going to cut me. I want this to be over. Like, just a whole bunch of negative things.
Mhm.
And I remember the phone just going silent. This is the first time I'm talking to this man. And he said to me finally, Natasha, you've lost the race before the gun has even gone off.
Mm,
And I wasn't aware of how I was speaking to myself and how that was showing up in my performance. Like, I was no stranger to hard work. Like, this is unhealthy, so don't do this. But if I
mhm.
didn't throw up after a workout, I didn't feel like I pushed myself enough that day.
Mm,
Because I wasn't
mhm.
believing in myself, the work wouldn't show up in competition. And I had
Right.
to learn that the way that I was speaking to myself was actually impacting my confidence and actually
Mhm.
why I was not performing. So that was the start of me learning, well, first of all,
Mhm.
becoming aware that I was even talking to myself like that. Like, I didn't even know
Mhm.
I was talking to myself crazy, but then changing the language to then build my confidence to believe that not only can I do the work, but I can show up and perform as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I hear you saying, like, "Yes, don't do this," but I think a lot of us do that, like, maybe not in that exact way, but I think we all have this metric of, like, if I'm not in pain in some way when this is over, then I didn't do enough.
Yeah. My, so my first and only Black therapist, Black female
Mhm.
therapist, I'll never forget something she told me in session, that Black women, we sort of wear this badge of honor for suffering.
Mm,
Like, and even when we talk about some relationships, right, you'll hear men say,
mhm.
"Man, she stuck with me through blah, 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 blah."
Yep.
Why? To go through the struggle for us
Right.
for us to
Right.
have it good, you know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
But that is something that has been ingrained in our culture that it's not worth
Mhm.
having without some sort of struggle, and don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, you have to work hard, right?
Mhm.
But does it have to be a struggle? Does it have to be
Right.
abuse? Does it have to be just all negative?
Absolutely. And I feel like that pairs well with that script that goes through your mind about what you can't do and what's not okay and what's not enough and what's not going to happen. It pairs with the suffering
Right.
because if you don't believe that you have what it takes or if you don't believe that you deserve it, then you are probably going to give up a lot more of your blood, sweat, and tears for it.
Exactly.
Mm,
Exactly.
wow. What would you say? Because I hear you also talking about like someone approaching mom and saying like, "Hey, I wanna work with her. She has this potential." That was a version of other people seeing you, but what did it feel like to really get to the point where you could see yourself? When you could be the one to say, "I can do this."
Dang, that's kinda it's actually hard to put into words
Mhm.
because it's I feel like you especially hear athletes say this, but I feel like in any walk of life, excuse me, where we have people around us that believe it before we do. Uh,
Mhm.
and when I finally had that belief, there was what do you say, like a release of the weight, right? There was a
Yeah.
difference in my walk. There was a difference in my approach to the work that I did.
Mhm.
There was even, I was when I talked about the conversation with Dr. Friedman, is that psychologist's name. Um, I had to learn that even though that was how I was showing up in my sport, that's actually how I was showing up in my life too. And
Mhm.
so the standards of how I was showing up in relationships in terms of how I was treating others and others treating me. And when I say relationships, I always like to clarify, I'm not just speaking romantically. Like every,
Mhm.
connection that we have with people are relationships. So, understanding how, that lack of confidence, that even in some areas, lack of self respect and self sabotaging
Mhm.
was impacting
Mhm.
how I was showing up for others and for myself. So
Mhm.
it wasn't something that I could say was in an instant, but more of like a
Yeah.
reckoning over time of like, huh, like, girl, this is showing up in more places than one. You
Mhm.
don't have to show up this way. You can be confident. You can,
Mhm.
show up and be your full self. It's still challenging. And I
Yeah.
say it's still a journey that I'm on. I can say particularly, post retirement, I'm in my second career. I'm a mom, a single mom in a new relationship. Like
Mhm.
I have worked with my confidence
Mhm.
showing up in each of those roles that
Yeah.
do. Uh,
Yeah.
so
How
it's
do you do that? Because I
very
imagine that it just feels like it's like walking in heels when you never walked in heels.
yeah, yeah. It's a constant continued checking in with myself.
Mhm.
It's grace. It's allowing myself I think last night is a perfect example. It had been a long day. I put my son down to bed and he asked me to lay down with him. But in my mind, I was just thinking, I need to clean up the kitchen. I need to do this and do that before getting to bed. Can't lay down with you. Love you. Good night.
Mhm.
And while I was downstairs, I was cleaning up and I was finally like, but why though? Just, you could
Mhm.
go lay down with him for a few minutes. And so I went back upstairs and I said, I'm sorry, Liam. And he was like, Mommy, come. Um,
Mhm.
but it's allowing myself to be able
Mhm.
to apologize, right?
Yeah.
To check in with myself in terms of like, I'm
Mhm.
not going to be perfect, but if
Mhm.
check inward and be like, that's not exactly how I wanted to show up. So maybe it's
Right.
going back and having that conversation, or even going back to my son and apologizing and, trying to,
Mhm.
I don't want to say correct it because we can't change what we've done, right? But
Mm.
at least show up in a way that's how
Mm.
I wanna show up for my son, and I mean, it was 5 minutes and he was out like a light.
Mhm.
But, like, they say what's the saying? "The days are long, but the years are
Mhm.
short." Like, he's
Yeah.
7 this year, and it's crazy to me because I feel like I was pregnant yesterday.
Yeah.
It's slowing down and having the awareness, the self-awareness, but also giving myself grace in those moments to to move and find the footing.
Yeah. And I love the process that you also did first was giving yourself permission. Like you confronted these expectations that you had of
Mm,
yourself.
mm,
And you were able to kind of revisit your values and revisit what really matters to you. And then you let yourself change
yeah.
even in that way. And I wonder like how much we miss out with like feeling really confident or like comfortable in our skin because we are like sticking to
Mhm.
expectations that really don't work for us
Mm-mm.
anymore.
Yeah. They don't work, and it's really, in some ways, a bondage. Um, and another thing that my therapist has told me, I think we've all heard this, that we often stick to what's familiar because the change is uncomfortable. And even if the change is good for us, it's uncomfortable. So I don't know how to function in this discomfort, but really, the longer, this is what I learned from competing, the longer you stay in the discomfort, is the more you build your capacity and the more that you grow. So you actually do want to lean into the change and the discomfort and, face those fears, face those values as well. But
Mm.
it's actually easier to stick in the familiar, even if it is bad, right? Because that's
Yeah.
what we know. And
Mhm.
ironically enough, we grow comfortable with it rather than challenging ourselves to stay in the discomfort a little bit longer.
Yeah. I think that's like our a common misconception of what confidence even is. I think we think that confidence is comfortable.
No. No. It is 1,000%. I don't even wanna say that it's discomfort, and I hate the
Yeah.
cliche saying, "Become comfortable with the
Mhm,
uncomfortable."
mhm,
But
mhm,
it's, staying in the discomfort just a little bit longer so that you can build your
mhm.
capacity, therefore building your confidence. Um,
Yeah.
but it's working through it, not avoiding,
Yeah.
not, running
Mhm.
away from it.
Mhm. Yeah, because for those listening, Natasha and I both work with athletes. I work with athletes in the daytime, if you will, and it's always at least for me, I with the work, I even started to get confronted with my relationship with comfort because I found my clients and the students wanting to, like, just feel good all the time, and then when I had a moment one day where I was like, "You're not gonna feel good all the time. That's not what turns into good performance." Then I was like, "Oh, shoot. What about me? Me. I'm the drama. I wanna feel good all the time, but that's not what this
Yeah.
is."
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And that's, it feels like we're selling a dream,
Mhm.
but I do think at the end of the day, though, you look back on it and you can feel good about it, right? So it's
Mhm.
not always going to feel good, but I think being able to look back on the journey, connect with the journey, and being able to look back and say, I showed up this way. I
Mhm.
corrected this time. I confronted this. I feel good about that.
Mhm.
That's what feels good, right? But
Yeah.
there will be discomfort along the way.
Mhm. Mhm. Can you share some examples? Because now I'm thinking about, like, I see how that shows up in athletic performance, but how could that show up for the everyday Black woman who is learning to be more confident in her body, learning to be more confident in her relationships, learning to be more confident in the 9 to 5 or the 5 to 9? Like, how do we do that?
I do think it's in the journey. And I'm still guilty of it too. And when you say like being confident in your body, you know, we go to the gym. I know I'm guilty of it as the former athlete. I want to see the change yesterday.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
But it's also connecting to, and this is actually something that I've dealt with throughout my professional career, where I look back and I'm like, girl, look at this body, and you didn't love it then, right? You would critique it then,
Mhm.
but it becomes a connection of, but what has this body done for me? Where have I and this body gone, right? Like this
Mhm.
body has taken me around the globe. This body gave me my beautiful son. This body froze some eggs for future babies.
Mhm.
It's connecting to that journey, right? And that new relationship, this we had this tense conversation, right? But
Mhm.
did we get to, some resolution? Were we able to have this conversation without being disrespectful to one another? Because believe it or not,
Mhm.
folks, we can have tough conversations without
Yeah,
being disrespectful towards one another, right? But
right.
connecting to the process and the journey rather than, yes, we want to have good outcomes, but we don't get to
Mhm.
the outcome without connecting to the process that it takes to get there.
Ooh, yeah. It's like really prioritizing the process over everything because that's what I hear the same thing. I'm the same way. Maybe not with my body, but with my actual fitness. I'm like, why didn't I drop my mile time yet? And it's like, okay, girl, you ran twice. You ran 2 times. Like
Girl,
you're
I started
not
Pilates a couple months ago, and we did some moving class the other day, and I'm looking around like,
Uh-huh.
"These broads don't know I'm an Olympian, but I cannot do what they are doing. What the hell?" Like,
I get so offended. We'll need to have another conversation about the life of a former athlete because as a former cheerleader, I'm in this space all the time and I'm like, "They don't know what I used to do," and it's like, "'Cause it doesn't matter. It
it
does, but it
does not
doesn't."
matter. But here
But
we are
it's
today. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. But I did have that I can say I did have that moment one time when so I do high rocks for fun. I don't recommend it, but I do. I don't know why. Making crazy decisions, but I'll be, like, dying on the treadmill, and I'm looking and there's a mirror in front of the treadmills there, and there's a version of me that would have hated that there were mirrors for me to look at. I don't wanna see it. Now, I'm either really neutral with it, which I think neutrality is just as amazing as, like, getting to the other side of, like,
Mhm.
body love, body but then I'll also be like, "Ooh, these legs used to tumble. Oh my goodness." And it would just really anchor me and, like, I don't care that they're moving slow. They deserve it. The fact that they're still moving is
Mhm.
amazing. So I love how you it's like a really big reframe and it's a process, like, can we be in it
Yes.
versus, like,
Yeah.
rushing toward some destination?
Yeah. It's so funny that you say the mirror at the gym.
Mhm.
I remember a friend of mine came to my apartment long, long time ago. And, after a while, he was like, "Natasha, you, like, have to face yourself here." And I was like, "What do you
Mm.
mean?" He was like, "You have mirrors everywhere." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I never viewed it that way." But funny
Ooh.
thing too was that was also during my phase of life where I had my affirmations up on my bathroom window. Not the
Mhm.
window, the mirror, sorry. Because I would say my affirmations to myself every single morning. But when he said that, I was
Mm.
like, "You know what? Yeah, when you look in the mirror, you do
Yeah.
have to face yourself and, like, take the time to love on yourself, and, you spend so much time
Mhm.
critiquing it. How much time do you actually take loving on yourself?"
Mm. Mm. And I think that you're really getting at, like, tolerating seeing yourself, like, physically and metaphorically, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
Seeing yourself is extremely vulnerable.
Mhm, mhm. And some of us don't wanna be vulnerable with ourselves.
Mhm. Mhm, mhm, yeah. Since we're being honest.
We're being honest here. It and speaking as a therapist, right? It's easy
Mhm.
for us to sit in session. I lovingly read my clients, right? But
Same.
don't get it twisted. My therapist, she be she be reading me down too, and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you're
And then
right."
I'd be ready to turn off the I really do. I have to catch myself. And then sometimes, when she'll, like, do her read after and, like, I'm listening and everything, but, like, when the call ends, I'll be like, "I knew that. She never
Mhm.
tell me that. She had to tell me that." You know what I'm saying?
You tell me.
It's
Yeah. Yeah, because again, going back to the conversation about discomfort, right? And
Mhm,
sitting in the
mhm.
discomfort, it's really hard when you gotta look at yourself and be
Yes.
honest and be vulnerable about, whatever it is you're showing up in, whatever it is you're working on. Like, that's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, because I don't wanna skirt past it lightly that you talked about how you didn't notice what was going through your mind. Like, I think even just sitting down and being like, "Oh my gosh, that's what I think about myself. That's what I say to myself. That's what I believe about myself." Like, that is hard to
Wild.
see.
Right. Right. And, the rule of thumb too, right, is like, would you say that to your best friend? Why
Mhm,
are you saying that to yourself? But
mhm,
again, going back to our Black communities, I'm
mhm,
sorry, there are things that we have come up in a culture that I'm desperately trying to unlearn, desperately trying to
Yeah.
change and undo. I'm raising a little black boy, but even for him, right? Like there are different things we need to grow up knowing to speak life into ourselves, and to speak life into our youth. I mean,
Yep.
I'll be on the internet crying when the little motivational videos come up of
Yep.
but there was one yesterday where this little boy was coming off the field and he was kind of in tears and his mom was like, "I watched you the whole game and you were in the dugout and every time your teammates went out or came in, you were clapping, you were high-fiving them, and then you got out there. I know you wanted to play more, but when you got out there, you made your play." And I was like, here
Mhm.
I am on the internet crying, but
Yep.
the life, right,
Yep.
that we need to be speaking into our
Yeah.
children. And
Mhm.
it's, a lot of times we see the opposite because
Mhm.
we're focused on the outcome rather than
Mhm.
the process and the journey. And each of us are on a different journey. But what I loved
Mhm.
about seeing that mom was she talked to her son about the whole game. Like,
She did.
"Yeah, son, you didn't get out there the way you wanted to. However, I saw you cheering your teammates on. Saw
Yeah.
you showing up as a positive person in your community, and then when it was your
Mhm.
turn, you stepped up to the plate, son.
Yeah.
Good job." It coulda
Yeah.
went totally different, right?
It
And
could
we've
have.
seen it be totally different,
Yeah.
fortunately, especially in our communities.
Mhm, and that's the quiet part that I wanna talk about out loud because I think we're talking about, like, yeah, we gotta speak life, but some of us, we not only didn't get that, but maybe we were also discouraged from doing that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So what do we
Discouraged,
do when we're
and because we're discouraged, don't have the language for it.
right.
S That was the next step, like, my therapist saying, "Why are you talking to yourself?" Well, how am I supposed to talk to myself? Because I was
Mhm,
taught, you know? So,
mhm,
like, the everlasting cycle of do better. Well, what am I doing better? What am I,
right.
am I even in a space that's safe enough to do that?
Yeah, yeah. I think something else too, and I think so many things about this topic, and where I think it's nice to zoom out because it can be really easy to kinda say, like, it was that parent or that sibling or that family, but culturally, like, there wasn't room to say affirming things and to think positively when you were just trying to survive, and something else that Natasha and I share is a Caribbean heritage, and what is what are feelings? What is that? What are these
Yeah,
excuses? What is anything other than you getting it done?
right.
Like I always tell people one of the biggest moments that turned things around for me in cheer, I was a complete scaredy cat up until this point. Like everything scared me. I was like, I loved it, but I was just scared to do anything. And someone I love walked up to me and they said, I will not be paying for you to do this again until you tumble. I will take you out of here right now. And then that's the day I threw my first skill. I threw a back handspring. And from there, I started to be able to kind of push past those mental barriers. But every barrier I pushed past was tied to if I don't do this, I will lose this. And that is not a sustainable
Oh,
way to push past fear. So even though like I learned a way to get through it, we all learned ways to get through it. There
mhm,
was no like, I can do this.
right,
I am capable. It was, oh shoot, I might lose this thing. So, you know, we just have so much messaging.
right. Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, uh, sharing the Caribbean heritage and, just a lot of it was their survival and
Mhm.
how they got through things.
Mhm.
And as much as it was out of love,
Mhm.
it still created, that fear, like you said, or
Mhm.
that if I don't, then so I
Mhm.
must, right?
Mhm.
And although well intentioned, does not change
Mhm.
the impact of what
Mhm.
those things were. And so
Mhm.
another thing that's tense, right? Because there's I know you love me and I know you did and
Mhm.
said these things out of love, but
Mhm.
golly, the way that it's showing
Yeah.
up in my adult life, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I work with a lot of clients who, like they're like, "Well, this worked for me for the most part," and I'm like, "And how is it working now?"
Mhm.
And I like to remind us that there's a little bit of a bell curve to these things. Like there is a point where it gets you ahead, but then it stops because all the other stuff starts to show up, all the doubt, all the stress, the pressure, that stuff kicks in and it stops being as effective. So we can honor that, maybe the families and the cultures we come from did the best they could. And there has to be another way that's going to carry us the rest of the way.
Right, right. And that is what I challenge when there are nights like last night where,
Hmm.
"Son, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, go to sleep," but I can turn around and be like, "No, that wasn't
Yep.
dishes can wait. They'll
Yep.
get done. Let me show up
Yeah.
the way you need me."
Yeah.
But it is taking that step back, like you said, and taking the broader look at things that, yeah, we came up a
Mhm.
certain way, and in a lot of instances because we had to.
Yep.
But now we can change those circumstances for our families and
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. So you've named these like really beautiful, and I really like how you just named that because even though you were talking about Liam, I also envisioned you did that for you. Like it's almost like baby Natasha was there too, and she needed you to just pause and be.
Oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that.
Mhm.
I didn't think of that. There's this girl that I follow, and she talks about reparenting herself, and
Mhm.
in a lot of ways, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I wanna my mom is my best friend, but even in my mom being my best friend, like, this is something that I've dealt with in therapy, that there were times that I needed my mom in a way that she could not be there for me, and it
Yeah.
wasn't out of intention, lack of love, any of those things, right? It was what it was, and again, she was doing the
Yeah.
best that she can, and
Right.
but it didn't change how and what I
Mhm.
did in those moments.
Exactly.
And so reparenting myself through that,
Mhm.
showing up in a way that like, yeah, I did want dad
Mhm.
to come and put me to bed or tuck me in, but he didn't, you know?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
my son wants me to tuck him in.
Yeah.
And man is also tucking little Natasha in,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I feel like that's like I think that's one of my favorite strategies for recommending how to like repair any relationship with yourself, but also like the relationship with believing in yourself and feeling good about yourself. I think it can be really hard to do it with like this version of you, but when you're thinking about like 8-year-old you, 10-year-old you, even 18-year-old you. Like, I can't imagine being unkind to this girl that was about to go off to college and didn't know what the heck was going on.
Yeah.
So, it's like a way to be distant from the vulnerability while also being, like, really close to
Mhm.
the
And
feelings
connected
that you
to it, right?
mhm,
'Cause
at the
that
same
we
time.
don't I don't wanna I don't if I'm being honest here, right? Like, why do I wanna connect to that achy feeling? But
Mhm,
how do I get through it without connecting and, you know, what do I need? What did I need in that time? Can I give myself
mhm.
that now?
Yeah, yeah. So how do you kinda walk clients, people, yourself through this process of repairing, like, that relationship of believing in and feeling good about yourself?
I do start off with, like, let's check in with how what your thought process is. What are you
Mhm.
saying to yourself? My students will tell you that they will leave with little, index cards
Yes,
of
yes,
their affirmations that we'll work on in session, because I
yes.
do think this shift starts with our language, and it's one of those
Mhm,
things that I think is so it sounds very simple, but it's one thing I had a
mhm,
student tell me the other day, like, I was saying my affirmations, but I wasn't saying them with conviction, I wasn't believing them.
mm.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
because if you show up to your game on Saturday just talking these affirmations, how you
Mhm.
believe something that you didn't practice, that
Exactly.
you know you're doing the work, but you have to
Yeah.
do the work, and so, I loved how you opened this up about, like, training the mind, right?
Yeah.
Like, it really starts with, A, how you talk
Mhm,
to yourself, but then also when you find yourself in moments of dysregulation, what do you need for yourself?
mhm,
Do you need a hug right now?
mhm,
A cup of tea? Do you need some
mhm.
silence? Do you need to do
Mhm.
some breath work? You know, these are the different things and it's not what is it, one size fits all.
Right, right.
Other
Mhm.
thing I'm always in session like, now look, girl, if this don't work, tell me.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
figure out what does work, right? Like let's not sit
Yeah.
here and take the funk. Um,
Yeah.
but different strokes for different folks. So
Absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, it can be really easy to dismiss affirmations. Like, I think I even went through a phase where I started to be like, these aren't really helpful because it feels so disconnected at first. But then what helped me was remembering, like, well, how did the negative beliefs get there in the first place? Repetition. Like, we repeatedly heard that we weren't enough. We saw evidence that we weren't enough. We were
Mhm.
told we weren't enough. Then we start telling ourselves we weren't enough. Every time that that happened, it was another instance.
Yep,
We get to install those other beliefs and those other realities the same way. Even
right.
if the path is different, it's still repetition.
Now, I want to piggyback on that repetition piece, right? Because the
Mhm.
repetition of the negativity, right? It's very easy to
Mhm.
spot and cling to that, right?
Mhm.
But without practicing, for lack of a better way of putting it, without practicing the positive thoughts, the
Right.
optimism is the better way.
Right.
It becomes really hard even when you are having wins to identify
Mhm.
those wins because your brain attaches more quickly to the negatives.
Yeah.
You talk about seeing the evidence, right? You actually have to train yourself to be able to see the
Yes.
evidence
Mhm.
because you've trained yourself to see the negative evidence. But
Yeah.
even in the you about to get me on my sermon, but my soapbox here, because I
Mhm.
had to learn and change my relationship with failure because
Yeah.
in what felt like failure, I didn't show up, there is an opportunity in there to grow, to learn. But guess what? You got to
Mhm.
sit in it for a little while
Yes.
to figure out, wait a minute, what happened here? How do we
Yes.
address this? How do we move forward? Um,
Yeah.
but being afraid of failure, yeah, we don't want to, fail and we don't want to fail in front of people. And, as Black women, we're expected to show up perfectly, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
how do you know
Mhm.
just how far you can go without taking a risk, without putting
Yeah.
it out there? And the
Mhm.
chance of failure is a part of it, but it's also
Mhm.
a part of the learning process too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Really seeing it as a different part of it. And then I like where you started too. If you never internalize the good moments, then they can't be stuck for you moving forward. That's like literally like someone gives you money when you fail, someone gives you money when you win, but when you win, you don't want that money. You only want to take the money from the bad stuff. And then you're like, I don't have any money from the good stuff. Yeah, because you didn't take it. You
Right.
dismissed it. Like, no, that didn't really happen. I only take what was evidence of this other side. We have to take stock
Mhm.
of all of it. And honestly, we have to kind of devalue a little bit more of like what it means to have failed versus
Mhm.
increasing the value of what it means for things to have gone
Yep.
well. And it's all protective, right? Because you're also I'm thinking about like being a Black woman and then finally feeling good and then feeling like, ooh, but not too good though.
Right. Waiting for that other shoe to drop.
Yeah. And like, oh, don't be intimidating, don't be cocky, don't be that.
Mhm.
And there's just like so many like protective barriers that try to stop you
But
from
what's
knowing.
crazy
Mhm.
is, and we know this about coping mechanisms, do they really
Mhm.
protect us though?
Nope. Nope. The metaphor that I really love is like you're on a roof in a river, like a flooded river, and there's a boat and you don't wanna jump in the river to get to the boat. You feel safer on the roof, but you're actually gonna be safer in the boat. So it does involve a scary thing to jump into the water and get to the boat,
Mhm.
but both of them are scary. Only one of them is gonna get take you to real safety.
Mm. Mm. Well,
Mm,
what do you say
yeah.
after that?
It's so good. It's such a helpful reminder, and, like, that's a lot of why I wanted to have this conversation because I think this is the part that sometimes gets missed, especially, like, in this space where we're talking about vulnerability. I think we're always talking about, like, maybe compassion or forgiveness or relational stuff, but we forget about, like, you have to believe you're worthy for all of that. And in order to believe that you're worthy, you do have to like create a new experience
Mhm.
with trying, with falling, with standing up, with believing in yourself, all the things we talked about today. That is where you begin to embody worthiness. Your worthiness is already there, but this is how you get to the part where you can embody it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
You said something earlier, and I don't wanna open another can of worms,
Open
but
it.
when you say, like, you know, getting to the worthiness, knowing that you're worthy of it, right? And then, how I can't imagine speaking that way to 18-year-old Natasha.
Yeah.
Right? I also cannot imagine growing up in this world of social media,
Mhm.
um, where we post our highlight reel. Like,
Yep.
let's keep that a buck, and
Yep.
I often say, because it is the truth, my freshman year in college was the first year that Facebook was created.
Yep.
So I've technically grown up with social media, but the
Yes.
things that, because this is the population that I'm in, I see it directly for student
Mhm.
athletes and athletes like myself. I mean, I've had to go into Instagram and put blocks
Mhm.
in for certain words or bots not
Yeah.
through. But we live in a world, I mean, this political climate, all
Mhm.
the things that are happening around all the things right now,
Yeah.
of just, like, protecting yourself from the things that we consume every day that
Yeah.
does play on our psyche. It does play on
Mhm.
us and
Mhm.
show up, right? You're seeing someone else's
Yeah.
highlight reel, but not seeing the amount of
Yeah.
times that they failed, the amount of times they've been told no, the amount of times that, it just didn't work out.
Right.
And so we live in a constant space of comparing our success or comparing our
Yeah.
to others, and it's
Yeah.
it's running us into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. It's like confidence is curated these days, but it's really not. And I think that you're making a really good point to end on, which is like that none of this is connected to like always doing it right. It's not connected to the gold medal. It's connected to the person who is in the process, regardless of what happens. And the fact that you care about you, you see yourself fully, you're putting your best foot forward at every turn. It's not about being perfect. It's not about perfection.
Yeah,
That's actually
perfection
probably the
is patty here.
antithesis.
So,
Say that again.
recovering perfectionist Patty here. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, perfectionism is a potent protector. Like it is, and I think that's the best part. Like we always probably going to be in recovery? Absolutely. But the biggest thing is like when you talk about the other things you have to be in recovery from, people can kind of say like, "Oh, yeah, that probably wasn't the best thing to do." Perfectionism is something that people think is a good thing.
It's
They
actually
think
paralyzing.
it's so paralyzing, and it's probably one of the biggest inhibitors of vulnerability and intimacy and all the things, and so it's really hard to let go of something that people once told you was good for you, like, at large. Like, there was never a time in the world where you walked outside and someone was like, "Don't be a perfectionist today."
Come on, Caribbean people.
Like, that wasn't a thing. In fact, if you weren't, like, that was, like, morally you were not
Girl, I
good.
remember bringing home a 90 and my dad telling me, "That's not 100.
Listen.
It's a A."
I would like to formally apologize to the teachers I ran around and spoke to. So this is a weird story to tell, but, like, I got a perfect score in 7th grade on the writing exam, and then my paper was used as an example for the whole county. That was probably one of the worst things that could have ever happened to me because the
Okay,
next
get this.
year, I not only didn't get a perfect score, I like met expectations and I ran around the school to every teacher I've ever known, begging them to tell me what I had done wrong because I could not tolerate the fact that I had fallen from grace. But you're so
You
because you
you
get
think you
conditioned.
are ingraining a good thing, but you become conditioned that everything
Yes.
has to be perfect.
Yes, but actually, maybe it was the worst thing that happened to me in that time, but it was really a gift because I very quickly had to reckon with that. I started reckoning with that earlier than I think some people do, and so it was okay to crash out in 8th grade and not like, you know. So that
Hopefully
was
you had
cool.
the people around you though to cushion the crash out a little
I
bit.
had
Like, "Baby
enough. I had
girl."
enough. Yeah. I
Okay.
I had enough, and enough people were also just very taken off guard, like, "Oh, she a little off. Okay, I see." And, but that's another conversation for another day, and I grew
Sorry.
through it. Oh my gosh, this was so helpful. What are some parting words you might have to a Black woman who is trying to, like, really lean into this confident, more secure version of herself?
I don't know that I have profound words more than what I always say, which is breathe and it's gonna
Uh,
be okay. Like,
uh-huh.
it might be hot right now, it might be a little bit uncomfortable again, but the amount of times that I thought my world was coming to an end and here I am and it's okay,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But, just be willing to do the work and, stay in it. Get out of it a little bit because you do need
Mhm. Yeah.
need some rest. I'm not saying,
Yeah.
stay in perpetual discomfort,
Right,
but
right.
but it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, that is profound because I don't think a lot of us learned to breathe and to trust that we're gonna get through it. Like that example I just named, that was a moment where I literally had a panic attack because I
Mhm.
couldn't connect to a different center. And even though I joke and say, "Oh, I crashed out that young," but that's been a recurring experience I think that a lot of us have where we keep having to confront the moment of like, what does this mean? What do I do with this? And I think it's been extremely profound that there are narratives out there that finally tell us like it is okay to literally exhale, to ask for help, to pause, to stop. I think
Yeah,
that's a gift.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
That's so interesting.
this was so good. I feel so empowered. I'm ready to go to my high rocks class this week and like really like lean into my
Like we had therapy. Did we just have
I think we had therapy.
about to say something shady.
Well, honestly, for those of us listening, if you know, you know. I appreciate the layered and credentialed conversation we just had. And so if people want more,
Here's mine to show you. It's because I got it up here from my
I
client.
know that's right. It's around here somewhere. If people do want to find you and they do want to be your client, how can they find you?
Yeah, so my website is not com. I know that
Mhm.
could get a little tricky, but I'm also on social media, Instagram, Hastings Performance, Natasha Hastings as well. I bounce back and forth between the 2, but those are the best ways to find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
I'm excited that you had me. Hopefully you have me back sometime sooner.
Yes. Absolutely. We're going to talk about more things and we'll talk about some mom conversations as well. I'd love to talk more about like what it's even like to transition into motherhood after everything you've been through because so many of us are told that you can't both chase a career and become a mom. So, we will have you back, Miss
Oh,
Hastings.
please do because I got a lot to say about that one.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much for listening. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and rate the podcast, and to subscribe to the Scene Sunday newsletter, where I share a little bit more about the episode. And I always let you know when the next one drops. Don't forget to share the love, save this, and come back to it when you need a reminder and a good hug. And to the Black girl who is finally allowing herself to look in the mirror, see the best in you, and be your own best cheerleader. I see you and I wish you the type of summer and the type of experience and feeling seen that helps you heal. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to the Black Girl Scene podcast. This podcast is meant for information purposes only and is not meant to substitute for medical advice. Although I'm a licensed therapist, this podcast does not establish a clinical relationship with you, the listener, nor does it replace a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. For more information and resources on finding a therapist or support, please visit www.blackgirlscene.com/support.